my channel. Recently I did a 400-mile hike in the UK from Land's End to Hay-on-Wye in South Wales as part of my Land's End to John O'Groats hike, and I thought I would do a quick video to show you some of the major items that I used on the trip. This isn't going to be a complete breakdown of the entire kit list, but just some of the major items like footwear, camping gear, clothing, etc., just to give you a rough idea what I used and how I thought it performed. Okay, well, the first thing I want to look at is some of the clothing items that I used. I use a lot of decathlon gear, not only because well, it isn't overly pricey, but I think for the money it's excellent quality, and I've been using it for some years now, and probably only one item has let me down, and that was actually on this trip, surprisingly. But anyway, that was partly my fault. But I use these shorts virtually continually. I don't like walking in long trousers, although I did have some with me. These are great shorts, quick drying, and I got those from Decathlon. I also had a pair of Decathlon lightweight convertible trousers, which I mostly used in camp and for going out to the pub and that sort of thing. And of course I got, if I wanted to wear trousers while I was walking or a spare pair of shorts, I had them there. Here I've got a wind shirt, which I didn't actually use. In fact, I didn't use a lot of the clothing I took on my walk, simply because the UK was going through an incredible heat wave at the time, so a lot of the clothing I carried was quite superfluous. But this only weighs 80 grams anyway, so it's Pertex, and it comes from a company called Reed's, which I think make a lot of sailing clothing. This is just a hat I picked up somewhere over here in Tenerife with a neck cover there, which I tend to fold up most of the time, but if I feel my neck's burning, I unroll it and use that as neck protection. Coming down here, I've been using these socks from Decathlon Quechua socks for some years now. This pair are quite worn actually. I've got about 4 or 5 pairs of these. They're extremely tough. Double layered from the top down to here, and then single layered, but they still dry fairly quickly. I really like them. Over here I have a Decathlon Quechua merino wool top. Again, of course, I didn't need this, but I had it with me anyway. I mentioned a piece of clothing that let me down on the hike. This was a shirt that I bought from Decathlon before I left. It's my fault really. The composition of the shirt, which was advertised as a shirt for trekking long distances and this sort of thing, unfortunately I didn't pay enough attention to the composition of the shirt, and it was actually made up of 70% cotton and 30% man-made polyester. Unfortunately, after not very long in that heat walking, my back was absolutely drenched, and also where the rucksack straps went over the shoulders, the colour faded away and it looked awful, and I ended up throwing it away after 4 or 5 days, even though it wasn't a cheap shirt. But it definitely wasn't right for the job that I wanted it for anyway. Mostly my fault, but there you go. I replaced it with this from Mountain Warehouse, which I bought in Newquay in Cornwall. It's actually a rash vest, which is used for swimming. I found this absolutely fantastic. It really is good. I mean, it doesn't get overly wet, it dries really quickly, and it's really cool and comfortable, and I really like that. So that was a great replacement for the shirt that I threw away. The other shirt that I use mostly is this from Decathlon Kalenki running shirt. Look, Kalenki is the brand name that Decathlon uses for all their running gear. It's very lightweight, polyester, quick drying, fantastic shirt, loved it. Right, another piece of gear that I really loved using is this running top. It's a waterproof jacket. It's made for runners actually. It's part of the Decathlon Kalenki range, and it's superb. I mean, it's so light. It's 250 grams. Has a hood that tucks away into the neck there, and I used this a number of occasions, and it kept me dry. Absolutely brilliant. Really liked using this. It's the lightest jacket I've ever had. Waterproof jacket. Moving over to here, this is another piece of Decathlon gear. This is my Quechua X-Lite down jacket. I absolutely love this as well. In the mornings if it's cold, when I got out the tent, I would put this on. It's got a hood. It's very simple. There's no ties or anything. A couple of zipped pockets there, and some inside pockets. Yeah, one each side like that. And yeah, really good. It's down in the main body of the jacket. The sleeves and the hood, and I think perhaps even the sides are man-made, but really light. Around about 450 grams, I believe. Packs down pretty small. I also use it sometimes, although I didn't need it this time. If it's particularly cold at night and I'm camping, use that as extra insulation. Moving across, I've got this pillow. It's a collapsible foam pillow from Thermarest. I really like this because I have trouble with pillows and although it doesn't really have a great deal of depth in it when you've got your head on it, if you've got a few other bits and pieces of gear that you can rest this on top of and give yourself a little bit of height, this is excellent, and I really enjoyed using that. Folds down into a pocket here like so. So you can see it's not that bulky. Weighs about 250 grams I think, so it's a bit of a luxury item, but it's one I'm prepared to carry. I'm quite pleased with this. I don't really get on with inflatable pillows very well. This is great. Coming across now to my Sawyer filter and platypus bag. This is an excellent piece of kit. Just screws onto the bottle there, put the dirty water in, squeeze it into a bottle, back flush with the syringe there, and you can use it with a straw as well. Nice and light, packs down small, always handy to have. Next is the cooking gear. Here, as you can see, I've got a spork. I actually lost my original spork and bought another one on the way in Padstow, I believe. This is my Fire Maple 1 litre cooking pot. This is really good. Simple enough, but boils up water really quickly. Graduated markings on the inside so you can tell how much you've put in. Yeah, that's really good. I enjoyed using that. It's quite quick and easy. This is my GSI insulated mug. This is really good because I find a lot of the time when you're out, you make yourself a hot drink and within minutes it's gone cold. Not with this. It's got an insulated sleeve and a top as well if you want to use that. So that's really good for hot drinks. And my pocket rocket just there, which is a good bit of kit. My tent, which is here, is a new tent that I bought fairly recently. It's from a Chinese company called Gear Top, and I have other tents. I've lighter tents than this one, but this one weighs 1.2 kilos with all the guy lines and the pegs, and it's a trekking pole tent, pyramid tent, and I absolutely love this tent. It's fantastic. It's got 2 doors, 2 vestibules, which I found absolutely fabulous. It's an inner mesh tent. It's this bluey green colour on the outside, and the inside is green and black mesh, but absolutely loved using it. It's so convenient to be able to put a rucksack, wet shoes, anything like that that you're not going to be using in one side, in one vestibule, and then use the other vestibule for getting in and out of cooking and all that sort of thing. And you can access both from inside the tent. The mesh tent's got 2 doors as well. Absolutely fantastic, brilliant tent. I can see myself using that a lot, because I really did enjoy using it. Going across to my sleep pad. I think this has seen better days, to be honest. It wasn't very expensive. It's a great insulator, really keeps me warm. The only thing is now I notice it doesn't seem to keep inflated all night. It's sort of semi-inflated by the time you get out of the tent in the morning. Rolls down to a very small package size, and only weighs around the 450 gram mark. I can't remember exactly now. So it's a light mat, and as I say, very small. It's easy to tuck away in the rucksack. Coming across to my rucksack, which I love this rucksack. This is brilliant. It's a Montane Ultra Tour 55 frameless rucksack. It's just with nothing in it. It's just like a big bag, but it is superb. It's a roll top opening, so basically it just rolls up like a dry bag, and then just clips on, 2 clips on the side. You've got no real stiffening in the back. The only issue I have with this bag is this here. You've got these pads that provide some support and ventilation, but you have to be really careful when packing it that you fill this gap properly here, otherwise you end up with quite a deep step in the back like that. So you have to ensure, and packing this rucksack carefully is crucial. It's not like packing an ordinary rucksack. You really have to take care on how you do it. But other than that, I've got no real gripes with it at all. It's got lightweight foam and mesh straps here, 2 mesh pockets which I used for a GPS and my camera. It's got 2 hip pockets there. It's got a huge mesh pocket at the front here, which I stored loads of stuff in, and I use that really as I would use a top pocket on an ordinary rucksack. Trekking pole holders which are detachable here. These straps for compression straps for cinching down the rucksack, keeping it nice and tight. They can be removed as well actually if you don't want them. Same with the straps on the bottom, or you can carry a tent or whatever in that area there if you wanted to, but they can be removed as well. 2 big side mesh pockets here, which is where I carried my water bottles, and I could just about reach around and get those while I was walking, and put them back again, which is just as important. But yeah, great rucksack. Weighs approximately 820 grams, and a really good buy. I really enjoyed using that. I come on to my sleeping bag, which is a Force 10 Nano -5. I've had this a few years now, and it's a great sleeping bag, really is. Keeps you warm down to freezing. Really, the name is a bit misleading. The temperature rating on this is advertised as -5, but that's really the limit temperature. The comfort temperature is really +1. I suppose -5 sounds better in advertising. But anyway, regardless of that, the only problem I ever have with this is with the zip snagging if I'm not careful, but other than that it's a quality sleeping bag. And in fact, because of the weather, in the UK on my trip I actually had to sleep a lot with the zip undone anyway. So, but yeah, that's really good, really excellent. Coming down to navigation, I used 3 items. I've only got 2 of them here. This is a Samsung Galaxy Tab A 7-inch tablet. I had this loaded with View Ranger, and I purchased on View Ranger Ordnance Survey maps, and I loaded my route, my intended route, onto the tablet, so I always had my route marked on there on the Ordnance Survey maps, and this was brilliant. It slipped in my thigh pocket on my shorts, so I could easily reach it, and I had a waterproof cover for it for when it rained, which wasn't very often, to be honest. The other thing I used was my eTrex 10, which is a very basic Garmin GPS unit. I had my route loaded on this. There's no mapping on this, but what I used it mostly for was recording my day's activity, so I knew at the end of the day how far I'd walked, how much ascent and descent I'd done and stuff like that, and the length of time I'd taken on the walk. So both of these were excellent. The other thing I had was my mobile phone, which also had View Ranger and OS Maps on it, which I could use in the case the tablet failed, which of course it didn't. And lastly, the item that caused me the most problems, surprisingly, is my shoes. These shoes are fantastic. I've been wearing these for some years. La Sportiva Ultra Raptors, fantastic shoes, lightweight, really great sole, one of the grippiest soles I've ever come across. But for some reason, my left foot, within a couple of days of starting the walk, I started developing blisters, which is something I never get. And by the time I got to Padstow, I had a really swollen, painful big toe, which was pressing into the inside of the shoe. It was very odd. I used the same shoe and sock combination as I've been doing for some years. The only explanation I have for that is that Ultra Raptors are quite a close fit, and although I've never had any problems walking in them in the past, the weather in the UK at the time was extremely hot and humid, and I can only assume that my foot swelled, and because there was not a lot of free space in the Raptors, it gave me problems. I actually ended up having to go to hospital with the swollen toe, which became infected. But this isn't going to stop me using them. My wife bought out another pair for me, this pair actually, which are half a size bigger than the ones I started out in, and I had no problems whatsoever after that. So really you need to go up half a size from your normal size with these, absolutely. These are lightweight, about I think 340 gram per shoe, mesh top, so they're not waterproof. As I said, a very aggressive, grippy sole. But you'll notice this green cross. If you look on the La Sportiva website, there is a chart that tells you, let's turn it round the other way, friction is the name. There's a chart and it tells you the characteristics of each sole, and green is one of the softest, and I find these wear down very quickly, the grip on these, very quickly. I've noticed recently that they are now making them with a white cross, which will at least double the durability of the sole, so I'll probably be going for those in the future, but I'm sticking with these. Or there's another shoe that's very similar by La Sportiva, I might have a go at those. But yeah, brilliant shoes. I don't like walking in boots, haven't walked in boots for a number of years. Yeah, your feet get wet, but they also dry out quick, so that's not an issue for me. Anyway, that's a quick rundown of the gear that I used on my walk. I hope it was of some use to some of you, and if you've got any comments, please post them below the video and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Thanks very much. If you enjoy the channel, please give my videos a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and post any comments or thoughts you have underneath the video, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Thanks a lot.